whisper it, Rishi Sunak is a much better Prime Minister than Boris Johnson. Of course, he lacks the blonde bombshell's charisma and common touch. Sunak is no wordsmith, no man of the people, and he's not hilarious, but it doesn't matter. Sunak doesn't have to be a wonderful entertainer. He doesn't need to crack people up or do publicity stunts. He doesn't have to be a great guy. He has to be a great Prime Minister, and he's showing all the makings of just that. Whilst the aforementioned Boris Johnson limped from one self-inflicted crisis to another whilst in office and folded to the professors of doom in Sage throughout the pandemic, Sunak is displaying rather more ballast, rather more courage, political and personal, than his predecessor. For example, by Sunak standing up to the pint-sized tartan tyrant Nicola Sturgeon. He challenged her bonkers gender ID laws, which ultimately saw her premiership collapse. And unlike his opposite number, the cervix-free leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer, Sunak is on record as saying 100% of women don't have a penis. And he's 100% right. And with these comments demonstrates a magnificent pair of balls. His bold five-point plan tackles an uncomfortable issue that the political and media establishment have ignored for too long, namely the illegal migrant crossings in the Channel. Let me tell you, stop the boats is the new get Brexit done. And whilst only baby steps have been made so far to tackle the migrant crisis, which is an economic, humanitarian and national security disaster, Sunak has done more to address this issue than both Johnson and Starmer put together. Of course, it's a complex nut to crack. Numbers could even go up this summer. But Sunak has had the backbone, the cojones, to place this issue front and centre of his policy platform, and he seeks to be judged by it at the next election. Inflation is set to tumble and be a fraction of what it is by the end of the year, thanks in part again to his robust, bold and uncompromising position on the current strikes in the public sector. Many of those people deserve a pay rise, but their excessive demands will only see the national debt grow and cause inflation to once again spiral. More good news for Sunak. Unemployment remains low and the economy is returning to life, with the prophets of doom at the IMF, who probably prayed for a recession just so they could laugh at Brexit Britain, being proved once again horribly wrong. And the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, reported that he had a meeting this week with international counterparts and that 3 words resonated in the room: Britain is back. Labour are still ahead in the polls, but it's narrowing. Their current 18-point lead could be gone in the blink of an eye. If Sunak sustains this momentum and continues to show not just political nous, demonstrated by that 5-point plan which ticks all the boxes, but the courage with which to see these policies through, all bets are off. And Labour have stooped into the gutter and taken the gloves off with a dirty campaign claiming that Sunak doesn't want paedophiles to be jailed. An extraordinary own goal from Labour, which will see inevitable scrutiny on Starmer's own debatable record as Director of Public Prosecutions. Now, Boris Johnson had huge talents, and we must forever thank him for getting Brexit done and for keeping Jeremy Corbyn out of number 10. But ultimately, in power, Johnson was too slippery, too duplicitous and too keen to be liked to be a truly great Prime Minister. Don't get me wrong, the Tories will be eviscerated this May. It will be a rout, an historic collapse. And who could blame the public for giving Sunak a bloody nose as they struggle to heat their homes, fill their cars with petrol and feed their families? But in a year's time, notwithstanding that the Tories' brand is horribly tainted, when faced with a choice between Prime Minister Sunak or Prime Minister Keir Starmer, a Labour government doesn't look like the odds-on certainty the polls suggest. The public are fed up with the Tories, absolutely, but they're warming to the guy who leads them. Far from fearing it, a date with the electorate can't come too soon for sexy Sunak. Voters might swipe right after all.